Okay, this is my third video tonight. First I want to show you a picture of my first two kids, my 11-year-old son and my 10-year-old daughter. I don't know if you can see it too well. Okay, that is my 11-year-old son when he was born. And okay, that is my 10-year-old daughter. Doesn't she look like a little baby doll? She had the darkest hair. You can't tell how dark her skin is there, but it was really dark. She looked like a little Indian baby. And which one am I on? Okay. That's my son when he was 4 months old. My oldest son. And that's my 10-year-old daughter when she was, let me turn it this way, when she was 3 months old. And then, let's see, this was both of them. He was, let's see, about 15 months old, and she was, maybe a month old, maybe not even that. And this is my son's 1-year picture, my oldest son. Okay, now I'm going to try to hurry up and do my 6-year-old son and my 3-year-old daughter's birth experience. Okay, I found out that I had gestational diabetes with my 6-year-old son, and I had no idea that I had it. I had been real thirsty right before, maybe a week or two before I had to take that test, and I just thought I was just thirsty because, when you're pregnant you go through different things. So I thought maybe it was just that I was thirsty, and so then I took it, and I was expecting it to come back negative, that I wasn't going to have it, but I did. And so they had me meet with a dietitian, and she gave me a pamphlet that talked about different foods and how many carb choices it was and things like that. I won't go through all that. But it gave me a pamphlet, and it had a lot of common foods. Like, it had a list of vegetables and how many carb choices each one was. It had like beans and what else did it have? Fruits, vegetables. Had things like beans, condiments like mayonnaise, ketchup, mustard, barbecue sauce, just about any condiment you can think of it had on there, how many they were, and breads, milk, cheese, just about anything that you can really think of. It would tell, how many carb choices that was, so that made it a lot easier to be able to plan my meals and stuff. And a lot of people would probably think that would be really hard to do, to follow a diet, but it wasn't, because I was having to eat, regular 3 meals a day, plus I had to have like 3 snacks a day. And it seemed like by the time I got done eating a meal, it was time for a snack. So it was like I just felt like I was eating all the time, and it was hard to eat sometimes because I really wasn't hungry, but I had to do it to keep my blood sugar at the right level. So I had to force myself, to eat so that I could make sure that my blood sugar wasn't too high, make sure, that it wasn't causing any problems for the baby, and he wasn't getting too big, or, he wasn't going to be too small or have any health problems. Because it's dangerous if you have gestational diabetes and you don't follow a diet, or if It's bad enough that you have to be on insulin. If you don't take your insulin, it's really dangerous. Let's see. I got a 3D ultrasound with him, and it was really neat. The office that I had been going to, they were trying out different 3D, 4D machines because they were going to buy one, and so everybody that day that got an ultrasound got a free ultrasound, plus they got the 3D. So that was really neat to be able to see your baby in 3D. And I mean, that's when they were pretty much first coming out, so it was just, you know, not a lot of people got those, and, you know, I'm sure they were probably really expensive if you wanted to pay to get one. And so it was just kind of weird because you could just see all the little features on his face, and when he was born he had this crease right here on his nose, this deep crease, and it was so cute, and you can kind of see that in the ultrasound pictures. I'll have to figure out how to post them on here, or maybe I'll just show them in a video maybe next time or something. And it was just really neat to see it. I mean, you could see the umbilical cord, and it was just really neat because it looked, when he was born, I looked at a profile picture from that ultrasound and looked at his profile with him just laying there sleeping, and it was amazing how much that picture, that ultrasound looks like them. It's just really neat because you can kind of expect, you kind of know what to expect, how your baby's going to look, so it's really neat. Let's see, he was born right on the due date. I had them induce me. They said with gestational diabetes they don't like the women to go over their due date, because with that, well, anyway, anytime you go over your due date, your placenta starts to get old. But also, they said with gestational diabetes, they don't really want the baby to stay in there any longer than it has to, because, you know, it can just cause different health problems. So they went ahead and scheduled my induction for the day I was due. So I went in, and they, I went in at like 7, and they started the Pitocin. And then the doctor came in a few hours later and broke my water, and they set the bed up in this weird, they call it the throne position. Your back is straight up, and then they take the foot of the bed and it goes completely like this. So it looks like you're sitting in this big throne. So every time I get a contraction, I could just feel the water just gushing, and it was like leaking over the edge, going down to my feet. It was just so gross. But I mean, it has to come out. And I did go ahead and get an epidural with him, because they told me, they said, well, if you want an epidural, you need to get it now. Otherwise, it's when the anesthesiologist leaves, it's going to be 30 minutes before he can get back. So I didn't know how long I was going to be in labor and everything, so I told him to go ahead and have him come in and give me one. And not too long after that, I started getting almost like I was going to pass out. Everything kind of started to get black, and I got really sick to my stomach. You know, I felt like I was going to pass out, and it was because my blood pressure dropped, which can happen after you have an epidural. And it was just awful. And then his heart rate went way down, and the nurse was worried, and she was pacing back and forth watching, and the doctor had come in because she had called and told him, you know, that his heart rate was dropping, you know, fluctuating pretty low. So he went ahead and came in to check. So he came in to check me. So he gets me lean back, and he checks me, and he's like, oh, you're ready to push. So he like runs over to the doorway and yells down the hall and tells the nurse that, you know, I'm ready to start pushing, and he just starts opening all these doors in the the labor delivery room. And he's like pulling out the baby warmer and like setting everything up really fast. It's really funny. And he's like getting his, little outfit on to deliver the baby. So it didn't take too long pushing to get him out. And everything was fine. He was 7 pounds, 15.9 ounces. And he was, 21 or 21 and a half inches long, so he was a pretty big boy too. Well, I mean, not weight-wise, but length-wise he was. And everything was fine. They didn't have any trouble clearing his airway or anything, and now he's 6. And he's my only child that has blonde hair. And it's so funny, because he has blonde hair and green eyes. And my other kids have brown hair and blue eyes. Which, my mom has green eyes, so I'm guessing he got that from her. And my mom has the lightest green eyes. When she tans and gets, well, whether she uses a tanning bed or whatever, or just from outside getting sun, her eyes look like they glow, and it's kind of, I'd say it's scary, but it's not really scary, but it's just strange to see eyes that color. But they're really pretty. And, but my brother was blonde when he was a baby, and my husband was blonde when he was little, so, I mean, we have blonde hair, so, and my family, so, let's see, I better hurry up and tell my daughter's story, because I'm almost out of time. I got maybe 3 minutes to tell hers. Okay, so, my 4th pregnancy, my daughter, she's 3 now. Let's see, I had gestational diabetes with her. When I was about 16 weeks, I was sitting on the couch, and my son was, my 6-year-old son, but he was just a couple years old then. He was laying by me, his feet were by my stomach, and he was just, being a little kid. Had his feet up and slammed his feet down, and it hit me in the stomach and scared me to death. And the next morning I got up to get my kids up for school, and I started bleeding, and I freaked out, and I was crying, and I thought for sure that the baby was dead. Because, I mean, I've never had bleeding, and, I mean, I was bleeding so bad. It was so scary. I was screaming and crying. I was praying to God, and I was just saying, please, God, let the baby be fine. Please don't take the baby. Please don't take the baby. And I think I scared my kids, but, I mean, I was freaking out because I've never had that happen before, but, I just prayed and asked God to, let everything be okay, and I just had to put my faith in Him, and we had to go to the doctor that day, and they did the Doppler, and her heartbeat was there, and, everything, they said everything was fine, just to kind of not get exactly bed rest, but not to really get up and move around a lot. So I did that, and later that night, I got up and was moving around, and I started bleeding bright red blood, so I ended up going to the hospital, and they did an ultrasound just to check, and she was floating around and moving, and everything was fine. So then a couple weeks, well, actually I think it was a week after that, so maybe I was 17 weeks, but I had my ultrasound, found out she was a girl, found out I had a cyst like on the clear part of the sac. And they just kept an eye on it and didn't think it was anything major. But I just had IV medication with her. I didn't have an epidural with her, and I went at 10 o'clock, and I had her at like 1:33, so my labor was really quick. And now she's 3 years old, and she's my little Lily Bell. She loves to be outside. It's so funny, so I guess we named her right. Well, that's it for my videos for this week, I guess. I don't know, I might make some more with my kids or something, and, because this is a neat way for, people that don't see my kids all the time to maybe see them and stuff. So, I'll see you at 11 weeks. Bye.